Let's begin. Going to open the meeting. My photo bomb. When he takes a picture,
We truly appreciate everything they've done for us and continue to. At this time, I'd like to announce the board met in executive session on Tuesday, July 11, 2017 in Conference Room 3 at the Dr. James E. Barker Leadership Center, 148 West 21st Street from 12:32 p.m. to 1:12 p.m. regarding legal matters. On Monday, July 17, 2017 in Conference Room 3 at Dr. James E. Barker Leadership Center, 148 West 21st from 12:57 p.m. to 1:09 p.m. regarding personnel matters. Wednesday, August 2nd, 2017, in Conference Room 3 at the Dr. James E. Barker Leadership Center, 148 West 21st from 6:20 p.m. to 6:45 p.m. regarding legal and personal matters. The board also met this evening, Wednesday, August 9th, 2017, in the Liberty at East Middle School from 5:18 p.m. to 5:34 p.m. regarding legal and personnel matters. Report of the superintendent, Mr. Polito.
With summer quickly coming to an end, I wanted to take this time to just highlight a few of the important changes that are occurring in our school district this year because of the reconfiguration. More details on all of the changes can be found on our Back to School portal at eriesd.org/back-to-school, and there's a link right on our homepage. We're also going to be sending home informational letters to all our families later this week detailing all the changes that are occurring for the upcoming school year. So first and most importantly, the first day of school is Monday, August 28th. We have open houses scheduled at all of our school buildings on either August 23rd or 24th, and that's to give parents and students an opportunity to meet staff and learn more about the programming offered at the building and tour the buildings as well. The full schedule is located on our Back to School portal and can be accessed again from that website. Because the district has reduced the number of high school campuses from 4 to 2, high school students living more than 2 miles from school will be issued bus passes this year, and that's a new policy with the district. We have not offered high school transportation before this. Elementary and middle school students living more than 1.5 miles from school will also be issued free bus passes. And due to the boundary changes, all students that would like a bus pass will be asked to complete an application. The applications are available in all the school offices and will be available at the open houses. And just to notify parents, EMTA will not require a bus pass to ride the bus until September 11th, and that'll allow families time to obtain the new bus passes. Because of the increase in the number of students transported this year, we are changing our school schedules and moving to staggered start model. For all middle and high school students except for collegiate, the school day will run from 8 o'clock to 2:55. Collegiate will run from 8:10 to 2:50, and the elementary schools will run from 9:20 to 3:40. And in recognition of the hardship that the delayed elementary start may cause working parents, the district will be offering before school programming at all elementary schools starting at 7:45. Applications for this program are available in the school offices, and at this point we will not be charging this year for that service. And lastly, the first ever Erie Royals football game will be held this year at the Vet Stadium on Friday, August 26th at 7 o'clock. We're going to be playing Meadville, and we'd like you all to come out. We're hoping to have a big crowd to support our new team. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to accept the superintendent?
We accept the report of the superintendent.
Mr. Harkins. Mr. Spiegel, second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Hearing of citizens, persons desiring to speak for 5 minutes must submit their request in writing to the Secretary's office at least 1 week prior to the board meeting. All others may speak for 3 minutes. We have 1 5-minute speaker, Mr. William McDonald. Is he here? I do not see him. Anybody would like to speak for 3 minutes? Anybody would like to speak? 3 minutes. Not seeing any, we'll move forward. Reports of committees and liaisons.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
not an official committee, but just the opportunity to make mention of the fact that this is the 100th anniversary of the completion of the building and the dedication of Academy High School, and there's a group of alumni that have created an event in recognition of that and celebration of that, and on the third weekend of September, they're having a celebratory weekend of events, and that's all I'm aware of, but I just want to make mention of the fact they're trying to spread the word among people, alumni and interested citizens, to know that Academy 100 is an event in late September.
Thank you, Mr. Harkins. If no one else, can I have a motion to accept? Mr. Castillo? Mr. Spiegel? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We have no unfinished business. We're moving on to new business.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Harkins.
I move we accept and adopt the new business of the school district and the vocational new business of the school district. That'd be item 6. Well, apparently it's only item 6.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Harkins. Second by Ms. Alexandrowitz. Any discussion? If none, roll call, please.
Mrs. McNair? Mr. Spiegel?
Yes.
Mrs. Alexandrovich? Yes. Mr. Castillo?
Yes.
Mr. Fabrizi?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Petrunger?
Yes. Approval of the minutes for June 7th, 22nd, and 28th, 2017.
So approved. Request.
Mr. Castillo, motion. Seconded by Mr. Spiegel. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bills and payroll.
I move we approve them for payment as presented.
Mr. Harkins with the motion. Second. Mr. Spiegel with the second. Roll call when you're ready, please.
Mr. President, would you please repeat who made the motion and the second?
Mr. Spiegel.
And the original motion?
Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Harkins, sorry.
Mrs. McNair? Yes. Mr. Spiegel?
Yes.
Mrs. Alexandrovich? Yes. Mr. Castillo?
Yes.
Mr. Fabrizi?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Petrunger?
Yes. Reported to Secretary. Can I have a motion to accept?
I move we accept the report of the secretary.
Mr. Harkins. Mr. Spiegel with the second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. McNair? Yes. Mr. Spiegel?
Yes.
Mrs. Alexandrovich? Yes. Mr. Castillo?
Yes.
Mr. Fabrizi?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Petrunger?
Yes. We have no awards on bids. We move on to any other matter. Does anybody have anything? Yes. Mr. Spiegel.
I spend a fair amount of time down at the new high school just because I live in that area and I hang out down there. And whoever's doing the work, and I can't even keep track of whether it's our employees, subcontractors, they're doing a lot of good work down there, whoever it is. I just want to give some kudos and plaudits to them. They're doing a very, very good job. I will say that, and it seems like this year that field is being taken, the practice field, the football field, looks like it's been better groomed this year than it has been in the past. So whoever does that, I know it doesn't
Well, I know
happen.
Surveyor had a lot to do with that.
So yeah, it looks better now than it certainly has in quite a while. I would appreciate it if it cleans a little bit of the more trash. There's just kids, there's Dairy Queen cups and those things like that, if we can get on that. Because there's gonna be a lot of eyes on the high school now, so if we can just keep that trash kind of cleaned up, I'm sure the neighbors would appreciate that as well. But I guess my point is, they're really on it as far as the building, the infrastructure getting squared away, and whoever's taking care of that is doing a very good job.
Thank you, Mr. Spiegel. Anybody else? If not, oh, I'm sorry,
I
John?
drove by that day of the Erie Serves, the big weekend, and I came around the back because I was looking for a place to get out and walk my dog, and I saw 25 people, I counted them, on the field. Little kids, adults, all kinds of people in the field, on the field, around the edges. I was impressed with that. Besides all the cars parked and all the bodies at work on a volunteer basis. So they went over that two. I was just going to say, this meeting's going so fast, could we take the opportunity to have the superintendent tell us how the transition's going up there? Just because we've had a few meetings and heard things were going okay, but perhaps the public watching the meeting might want to know. Just a brief update of how things are developing for the repairs after the fire and where things are.
Sure, things are moving along very well up there. As Mr. Spiegel said, there's been a lot of work, and we not only do we owe a debt of gratitude to Serve Erie, but we owe a debt of gratitude to all our staff, our tradespeople, our engineers, our firemen, our IT department, our administrators, our laborers. Everybody has really stepped up this summer, and we talk a lot up at Erie High about what's happening there is making the impossible possible every day, and this couldn't have happened without all our staff working together to get this done. So it's been a wonderful summer. The remediation work is just about done there. We're on track to get the power hooked up to C-Wing, as well as get the structural steel in place. I believe they're starting on the 16th with that project. But yeah, we are going to be up and running by the start of school. When we're not going to be 100%, there's going to be a few loose ends that we're going to have to deal with at the start of school, but all in all, we're going to be in great shape for the kids on August 28th.
Thank you, Mr. Polito.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I just want to add to what Mr. Polito is saying is that every school year, the staff is there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes for that first day of opening school. And this year, it is times 110. And so I agree to commend our staff for going the extra mile and doing everything that they possibly can in a short period of time that they've been given.
Thank you.
Any news about the state budget, anything to offer or anything other than we're waiting?
We're waiting.
I understand.
Mr. Spiegel.
How much money do we have? Like, if we had a checking account, what's our balance?
Well, we actually have not had to ask for an advance yet on our subsidy, which is the first time in history that we've made it through the month of July and part of August without that happening. It's because of the the $4 million adjustment that we had last year, and the acceleration of the acceleration of the collection cycle that really has helped that happen. But at this point, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but we anticipate probably in another week or two needing an advance. Last year, we requested a $15 million advance and paid $5 million back in December and $10 million in June. This year, we anticipate only requesting a $7.5 million advance and being able to pay that all back by December. So our cash flow is in better shape this year.
Thank you. Mr. Cassillo handed me something for discussion here on maybe possibly relocating our future board and committee of the whole meetings to A, Erie High, or B, Administration Building.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, it occurred to me that, for us to continue with our efforts to move Erie High forward, that it may be in our interest to conduct our board meetings in the future at Erie High. If that isn't a possibility, then as a secondary option, maybe the administration building itself, that we could allocate space there, perhaps up in the atrium area, to hold regular board meetings and continue our committee of the whole meetings at the administration building in the boardroom. It would just make sense. It's more centralized. It would accommodate people to the east and the west. And I just think that it would be showing our sign of support for Erie High School to do that. So it may be something to look at. I'd like to see what the expense would be if it's feasible. I know we have a lot of electronic equipment that's here. I don't know how onerous it would be to relocate that the audio visual at the new high school. But we may want to look at the feasibility of doing that And I just think it would be accommodating all citizens of the city by being at that central location, both in the east and west. So for discussion, I'm just throwing it out there.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I would just like to, from my own experience of working, with the technology that's involved in doing this, that I understand what Mr. Castillo is saying, and I have no problem with us considering it for the future, or, but it would be something that, at this point, with everything that's going on, it'd be worth a discussion, but it is a pretty involved thing. When this school was built, we did a lot to accommodate the meetings to be here. So, I mean, it was that type of thing. And we were set up like here, and Harding School also has the facilities to be able to handle it to some degree. But at this point, I think that it would take an investment into Erie High School to provide the kind of situation that we're in here.
That's why I'm bringing it up, to see
Right.
if it's economically feasible for us to do it without a major expense. If it's something that we can afford to do within reason, that would make sense. Now that we are East Middle, it would be, I think, a great endorsement for Erie High's future, for us to hold our meetings there.
If there's enough room, I mean, the whole thing of it is that, like the dais that we sit at, there's a storage area that we have for that here. Everything's set aside in a certain way, and so once a month it becomes this, and so all those considerations would have to be made. So I would suggest that the administration meets with the IMD department and discuss all the complications that may be involved, and then bring them to us, and then we can discuss it from
Right.
there.
Okay.
I mean, if I know we talked about it, but I like the idea of going to the Erie High School. And again, I have no idea about the cost. Personally, I don't need anything fancy. You can give me a chair.
Well, I don't think it's about that. They
Yeah,
have the
I understand the video
connection
homes and all that.
to Channel 8 and all that too, so.
Yeah.
Mr. Polito will talk and get the numbers together for us and report back to us, and we can discuss it further there.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. John?
Since it's been brought up, I'm more sensitive to the time that we meet. I think when we changed our starting time to when we did, it was easier on us and our employees, but not on the public, and I just think we lost a lot of attendance. It's not that simple, but we did lose some attendance when we came to the earlier meeting time, so I'd like to include a discussion of that if we're going to discuss change of location too.
What time was it before?
Well, at one time it was 8 o'clock, and then I think it was moved to 7 gradually, but there was a time when it was 8 o'clock, and it allowed parents to get home from work, eat dinner, and then show up comfortably to a public meeting. I'm not advocating that, I'm just saying I've been around long enough, and I noticed that it was the drop-off when we went this early, because the employees didn't want to have to go home and come back, and that was certain sensitivity we wanted to have to that. We didn't want to punish them, but I just couldn't help but notice that we lost some bodies in this room when we changed the starting time. So I'm not pushing, I'm just throwing that into the discussion too.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'm sorry to have an opinion on everything, but I'll let you know that.
That's your job.
Yeah, well, I try. But the thing about that is sometimes, I mean, when we have the kids come here, the late starting thing, if it was at 8 o'clock, or like you're saying, that late at night, that you had kids coming to do presentations and such, and it was during the school year and the school nights, and so now the kid isn't getting home. I mean, a lot of kids go to bed at 9 o'clock, so I mean, that was part of the consideration at the time, I think, if I have the right recollection, but I have no problem considering it. I mean, that's,
Well, if we had started this meeting at 8 o'clock, we'd be out by 8:25.
Not always, though. Not always.
This
No,
is
you're
a
right,
rarity.
You're right.
You can guarantee us to get out here 25 minutes every time.
That's all.
We used to have meetings till 11:30, though. There was meetings that went
I
to
was at
11:30 one
1:30.
time,
Yeah.
So,
All right, that's all stuff we can discuss. Yes.
I just want to say to the parents to make sure your children are prepared to start off the school year. Make sure that, you know, you have them all ready, and if you don't, I know that there's a lot of back-to-school functions that are going on that are every weekend until school starts. I believe there's a function that'll be giving away school supplies, backpacks. I believe I've even saw a few that are going to be giving away uniforms. So if you can't afford some things, please make your way around town to some of those events to ensure that your child starts off with some of the things that they need. I'm just excited for our new school year, a little bit nervous, to be honest, with all the changes. In regards to our before school programming, I just want to make sure that we come off clear, you know, that this is something new that's intended for parents that we're causing a hardship for that have to go to work or school, because we don't want to make it a hardship on the district by having more than we need. There are other resources that you can go to if you need before school care. Check with your local providers, check with your local child care information services. I believe we will be reevaluating this service, so just letting everyone know that, you know, if you're going to use that service, make sure it's something that you really need, because right now we are not charging a fee, but if it becomes to that point, they're looking closely at the situation to see if there will be a fee or not at some point. I know that we don't want to be a hardship on the parents once again, but just make sure that, you know, we are aware of what that service really is for, and it's really for those parents who are going to work, who are going to school, who we don't want to interrupt their schedules with having the later start date for the elementary school children. And I do believe there's a process that everybody will have to go through to get that service, and I'm sure it will be in the information that's sent home that you'll receive later in the week. So, you know, I'm just hoping that we have a great school year to start off. I'm really excited about the first football game on the 26th. I hope everybody can make it out, and I can see our district moving forward at this point. And I just want to say, Brian, you're doing a great job to start off this new school year with all these new transitions. And, you know, that's about it.
Thank you. No one else says anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion by Mr. Cassillo, second by Mr. Spiegel. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
What time is that game on? Would that be 7 o'clock game?
7, yeah.
Nice.
Okay. So all I did was once I plugged this in,